All right, yesterday we learned in Pirki Avot, the teachings, Pirki, the chapters of the forefathers of Judaism. We learned these lessons. So we learned from Rabbeinu HaKodesh, the one who wrote the Mishnah. Then after that, we learned from his son, Rabbi Gamliel. Remember, what is the guy we said is good to learn Torah and also to do work. And we're going to continue now with Rabbi Gamliel. Rabbi Gamliel says you should be careful with the rulers. Be careful with the rulers. Don't try to ingratiate yourself or chum around or get too much in favor with the rulers. She'en makarvim lo adam, because they don't befriend the person only for their own purposes. Nirim ka'avim, they seem to be your best friend, b'shar hanatan, when they're getting something from you. Ve'en omdim lo adam, but they are not faithful to a person, b'shar shedachako, when he is in difficulty. In other words, when they need you, you're their friend. When you need them, they're nowhere to be found. That's the ruling class, the government. The government. Let's see what Rav Avadia of Bartanura says. Be careful. Atem mitaskim b'tzorchei tzibur. You people, this is a continuation of yesterday. If you are working with the congregation and you're trying to get something done, you want to build a building, you want to make some sort of a new movement, you want to help the poor, give food to the orphans, to the widows, right? You want to teach people Torah, wonderful things, right? You want to do good things. Even though that you need the government in order to, because you want to deal with the community. Be careful. Right? Be careful. What does the Tosfos say? I'm saying no. Here, let's do Tiferet Yisrael. But when they receive from you gifts, they're your best friends. But as soon as they aren't, then they are not your friends anymore. Okay, let's do one more. This is a very important lesson. In other words, it's a very good thing to have friends. And it's a very good thing to be friendly. And there are some people that you can really trust. And government officials, especially, are chosen to be government officials because they seem to be trustworthy people. In other words, you rely your fate on them. They'll build roads for you, they'll protect you, they'll provide water, they'll keep order, law and order. So they seem to be trustworthy people. But the fact of the matter is that they have their own agenda. And even if their agenda is to help the people, but still it's their agenda. So when they need you to help them in their agenda, so they're willing to be partners with you. But as soon as they don't need you anymore, even if you present no danger to them, they won't answer the phone. You just can't get a meeting with them. Another from Reverend Gamliel, he said, make his will like your will. Make his will like your will. In other words, learn what God wants, and that's what you should want. You should want, God is not separate from you. God is not your enemy. God is not your, trying to deprive you of any of your freedom or, uniqueness or productivity. He's not trying to put you in some sort of reduced consciousness state of being a slave. No, God is what is for your benefit. For your benefit. The things that God wants are for your benefit. Therefore, it says, make his will, whatever he wants, that should be your will. You should want to do what he wants. And then if you do that, Yasa Ratzoncha Kiratzono, then the things that you want, God will provide. Okay, there's a lot of aspects of this, but one of them is that if you really want what God wants, then it means that your desires won't be so, how do you say, unreasonable. You want a car. If you, let's say you want to have a new Lamborghini car. Oh, it's swift, it's beautiful, it's just so sleek, and it's just this and it. No, why do you need a new Lamborghini? Why? Because I like it. It looks nice. It looks nice. So it means that you're not making God's will into your will. It could be you need a new Lamborghini, because if you have a new Lamborghini, then people will listen to what you say, and you want to say things about Torah and about serving God, make people feel good about life, about themselves, right? Then they'll listen to you. You get out of a Chevrolet or a Ford or something like that, even a Cadillac. Who cares about you? Everybody has a Cadillac. Well, Lamborghini, that thing costs $2 million. I'll listen to what he says. Okay, so that's what it means. Make God's will. Find out what God wants, and realize that's to your benefit, and adapt that to yourself. Incorporate, absorb God's will, then it becomes your will. And then whatever unique things that you might happen to want, right? And the Torah doesn't say you should have a Lamborghini, but I want one in order that I'll be able to spread out ideas of Judaism better or whatever. Then God will do your will also. Next, batel ritzoncha b'fnei ritzono. You should negate your will in front of God's will. Kadesh batel ritzon achirim, so that other people's wills will become negated in front of you. Okay, what's this mean? Let's have a look. It says, if pazer mamono, give away your money for things that God wants, as though that you're really doing it with a true desire, you really want, right? You're giving money for this learning Torah, you're giving money for the synagogue, giving money for good things, for helping people. Spread your money out. A person wants to keep his own money, right? If you do so, then God will give you all good with a good eye. Okay, it says negate your will in front of God, so that God will negate the will of others. Here, I'll tell you a short story. There was a story about Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera, and there was a lady that had a son that she got older and he got older. He was paralyzed, totally paralyzed. When she was a bit younger and she had money, she could take care of him. But her money, she didn't have any source of income, and she had to sell things. And finally, she didn't have any money, and she couldn't take care of the boy anymore. And he was already big, and he was paralyzed. So she went to Rabbi Yaakov Abu Chatzera and said, "Please ask God to kill my son, to take my son away." So he said, "That's a stupid thing to request. Bring him here." So he brought him. It was a hot day, and he went out and sat in the backyard. Rabbi Abu Chatzera sat in the backyard, and it was hot. He sat in the shade, and he said, "Bring the boy out into the sun." So they brought him out to the sun. He was laying in the sun, and it was hot. It was hot. So the boy, he was paralyzed totally. He couldn't speak. He couldn't. So it's hot. So all of a sudden, the boy says, "I'm hot." So Rabbi Abu Chatzera said, "Keep quiet. I'm learning. I'm learning the Torah." And he said, "I'm hot." It was a big miracle because he couldn't speak at all. "I'm hot." I said, and he said, "Listen, if you got any complaints, go and tell your mother. She's waiting outside." He told the lady to wait outside. He said, "I'm going to tell my mother. You're going to see." He went outside. He told his mother. His mother went berserk. All of the Arabs and all this was in Morocco. They came and they brought him presents and everything like that. And they said that you did an amazing miracle. He said, "What type of a miracle? If I always do what God wants, is it such a big miracle that once in a while he does what I want?" That's what it means. You do his will, God will do your will. Also, if you negate your will, then God will negate the will of your enemies. He will take all those people that want to do bad. And I heard that this is not a nice thing to say, because it's though we're saying that you should do God's will in order that you're going to receive something. Like it says in Ma'isha, anyone who does a mitzvah the way it should be, as even a decree of 70 years will be. So that's what it means. Not that other people, it means that if you do what God's will, then even if there's bad things decreed for you, that they won't happen. God will take away the decree. As we'll learn God willing more tomorrow. Have a good day with Mashiach now. One minute.